Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's time for AMA number 36. This is the one that is going to lead into the season. I'm going to try to become more active on the YouTube channel. I know that, I'm quite disappointed when it comes to being a creator, but, screw it. An AMA a week is something that I can handle, regardless of my workload. Nevertheless, if you have any questions of your own, just post them on the YamatoCannon subreddit. I urge you to join the Discord too if you want to have any discussions, you want to have tips on how to become a coach or how to work in the field of League of Legends. All in all, let's just jump into the questions. If you want to support the channel, just interact with the video, click somewhere, just watch it. That's perfect, because the YouTube algorithm just wants you to stay on the website, wants you to click on the website too, and that's just how it works. For those who don't know, even if you dislike the video, that's good for the video because you're clicking, as silly as it might sound. First question by Diddle Doodle. Hey, for you, how important is players' age? Do you think the average age will increase? If someone discovers a league late, let's say at 20, and he gets insanely good in 5 years, does he have a future in esports, or is it too late? Would you take a 25-year-old rookie into your team, or does organization strive towards young players more and are not interested in all the talents? Thank you. Well, I think it comes down to the mindset of the person. Like, this is not an insanely physical sport, and I think there are, a lot of things that point to the mind not being fully developed until a later age in life. I think it's just a question of what is your life experience that has brought you to that point. We still have veterans that are going to stick around for a long time because they've maintained their beginner's mind. There's a certain level of open-mindedness that is required and an innate ability to learn and to be critical of your ways, which is, the issue with becoming an expert in any field is that you close your mind to possibilities. And as League of Legends is a game that constantly, changes and isn't new, it is important to change with those times and consistently grow. The trickier thing with age is that with age, you've gone through more experience, and sometimes your mindset could be shaped in a way that might root you in certain ways negatively. It's much easier to work with someone that is a rookie and create bad habits at a younger age than it is for someone that is, doing that at a later age. That's at least in my experience. But if they have the right things in place, I don't think age matters too much. It's all about what your experience is and how you are using that experience to impact your day-to-day life. I don't think age is that big of a deal, and I think there are definitely some outlying examples of players that have been at the top for a very long time in the region. You think of someone like Perks, you think of someone like Reckless, right? They've been around for quite some time, and they've adapted, right? They've adapted, they've not stayed the same, and that's the key thing. You need to be open-minded, you need to have a beginner's mind. A beginner's mind, when you start anew, when you're open-minded to all ideas, that's something you need to maintain and really, really nurture. Camembert. Camembert, is that the cheese? At the beginning of spring, it seemed like you were pretty positive in terms of expectations for the split. At which point did you know you were in big trouble regarding the success of the split? Well, not necessarily big trouble, but I noticed that my expectations were set out wrong. Coming into the split, you always build this image of you in your mind, especially in my case, because there was some talks about me joining Fnatic, back in like season 1 and 2, and in my mind, I always built this idea of what it would be to join Fnatic, because this is a team that I've consistently lost, and when I beat them, it felt damn good. They were the top dog of Europe for a very long time. So my expectations were set out wrong, and I realized this by the time we started to get sick, and that's a very, very bad timing. we did do some serious work, because coming into the last 2 weeks, coming into playoffs, we had our best practice weeks and we managed to figure some stuff out, but it was just too late. Way too late. We managed to, I remember we scrimmed against G2 and we had like games where we had Leeson being 15-0 and, we felt good about ourselves, and this was the day before we played Schalke. And in the end, we're all a fool. We're all fools because G2 turned out not to be so great either in spring. But nevertheless, I think I began to see our issues maybe, 70% into spring. There's always this idea in the back of your mind, into playoffs, things are going to settle, I'm going to, find our groove again. We're just kind of, exploring ourselves. But by the time I began to have those thoughts, we were quarantining and we were sick. Basically, we were sick in rotations. It was really silly. First it was me, then it was someone else, then it was someone else, then it was someone else. It was sad. Taco or Cookie? What do you think about the idea of expanding MSI to more than one team per region for the sake of more international competition? Well, I think that would benefit the teams, but I don't know how it would impact the product that is League of Legends. Something that I think a lot of people need to understand is League of Legends is still the most successful esport by far. Nothing comes close to it. It is the most successful game. Nothing comes close to it. And that humbles me in saying, this needs to be done about the format. This needs to be done about the broadcast. This needs to be done about X and X. From a competitive standpoint, the more teams you have, the better it is, right? From a competitive standpoint. It's just basic math. But in terms of logistics, in terms of viewership, in terms of, what the product is, I wouldn't know what kind of an impact it has on that specifically. Sure, I have some ideas, I can draw some parallels, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't feel comfortable to, make a decision with a gun to my head. Bottom line is, I would still have loved to see, more Korean teams play against Chinese teams, but maybe as a viewer and as a product, if you are longing for those matchups more and more and see them more rarely, maybe there is a certain element of excitement that exceeds everything else, and the build-up and the ramp-up is just too exciting. It's kind of similar to like in the NBA, they had the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, and then you have teams that rarely meet each other, and then boom, they're there in the finals, and it's just such a huge spectacle, right? There are other examples of this. There's Champions League, right, that creates an element of excitement. I don't know if the vanity would wear out if there would be more international competition. That's the whole question of this Super League that wanted to be created, or the conversation of North America removing their import restrictions. But yeah, as a competitor, I am all for more competition. Michalito 20. Do you feel the team can change completely by the coaching staff, or is it very dependent on the players? Not just quality and win rate, but play style and etc. as well. I think coaching staff can change. I think they can be a detriment to players. I think they can be a benefit to the players. I think it is a symbiosis. It's a relationship where you give and take, and you work together to achieve a goal. I believe players are, the way I always tell my guys is you guys focus on the now and I focus on the past and the future, because you guys have enough going on in front of you in the game, so you don't need to think about these other aspects. But I think, just to answer your question, yes. I believe you can change play style. I think quality as well. You can change everything, for sure. Civilizer was taken. Who is better in your opinion, Chovy or Showmaker? I would personally say Chovy, but I also feel like Showmaker has really flown under people's radar as of late for some reason. Well, I think Chovy, if there was a 1v1 tournament, I would put money on Chovy. As simple as that, right? I think in terms of pure laning, I think he's at the top. There's Rookie as well, right? In terms of pure laning. But what Showmaker does, there's some key nuances that, you know, he's always ready when he needs to be ready. There's a certain skill and, you know, a removal of ego and also a game understanding that is required for you to achieve that. Showmaker is very, very good at making sure that he is always ready when Canyon needs him. Canyon and Showmaker is a very, very lethal duo because of this. Also, on the other hand, if it's necessary from Showmaker, he can pull it together and play a very lane-centric game too. And due to the nature of the game, you know, it's a tough comparison because Canyon is in the conversation of being the best player in the world. Canyon, I don't know how it would look like if Chovy and Canyon were playing together and like against Showmaker and Canyon. I just have to value that ability to be a team player. I think you've seen this shift in many players where they are less focused on their lane and they are shifting their attention to understanding how to win games and how to impact the map. And to be fair, Chovy hasn't had the teammates to really support that shift. And with that in mind, what do you value more in a player? I would say it's very tough, right? It's unfair because Showmaker has Canyon, but that idea of playing for your team and playing for your jungler and being ready is definitely, you know, something that Showmaker is really, really good at. But 1v1 tournament, I take Chovy. So to answer your question, who's better? God knows, man. It's tough. Like I could wake up on the day and choose the other, but currently I would lean Showmaker just a little bit, but that can shift within the day, really. And they have different attributes. Still, Chovy, winner of 1v1 tournament, lane tournament. Chovy's a winner. Sam RS, how do you think your bot lane performed overall in Spring Split? I believe in terms of laning, they were very, very good. The best. I don't think anyone had anything to say. Maybe Rogue's bot lane could contest a little bit, but all in all, I believe that in terms of laning, they are the best and can compete with the best in the world. In terms of how they transfer their advantages, that's something that they can work on. In terms of how they impact the map together when they have advantages and how they, you know, carry the game, so to speak. But of course, it's a team effort, so it's wrong to put that blame on them. But I believe in a world where, you know, you can take responsibility for anything. That's the only reason I bring this up. I think overall, I can't complain. They are very, very self-sufficient and work very fucking hard. And they are not slowing down. They are never getting lazy ever. And Upset and Hilly is a blessing to have in a team. Fanatic Joey asks, do you think it makes sense for teams to select their players on nationality language only? For example, a full German team. It will probably greatly increase communication and is pretty common in other esports such as CSGO. Well, I don't think it matters. I really don't think it does. I think what might help is culturally, it is easier for the team to align, right? I don't think it's necessarily tied to language. Sure, there's some things that you need to figure out. For example, Vitality, we had one Italian dude, Jizuke. Like, I couldn't understand fuck all of what Jizuke was saying in the beginning. You know, he has such a heavy accent. Same with Attila. His accent is pretty fucking heavy too. Jackrell too, man. He's pretty much just fucking mumbling in Polish when he's talking. And you know, that did indeed take some. It takes some time to figure out, but a lot of countries, there's a very similar culture that is, you know, pumping in the blood of the country, in the blood of the lands. And for example, in Korea, every player in Sandbox culturally align, right? In terms of their expectations of people, in terms of how they perceive the world, and that goes a long way, right? That goes a long way. So I think that part of it helps. But in terms of communication, doesn't fucking matter. You know, you've seen teams with Chinese players and Korean players work together, and you've seen mixed teams work together. The best teams Europe has ever produced are mixed teams. I don't think it matters. Oscar0818, have you considered doing a manager role? Yeah, I've considered the general manager role. Maybe it's something that, you know, is further down the line, but definitely not in the scope of things anytime soon. I want to compete, I want to be on the front lines, and that's where my passion is. I could see myself in a position, you know, a dream of mine would be to, you know, maybe in 20 years own my own esports organization. There's something beautiful about working and putting your blood, sweat, and tears into something that is your own. That gives me goosebumps, that idea in itself. And it's something that I tell my friends all the time. I was like, yo, you want to borrow some money? You want to open a fucking bike shop? You want to make your own company? Let me back you up, man. I want you to work for yourself. There's something beautiful about that, because, you know, under that rug that you're standing on, there's a floor, and not a lot of people are putting any attention on that floor. You can get rug pulled at any point in time, especially in esports. Axelman 9000, do you think the LEC will keep the 4th world slot this year? I don't even know how that works, so I really don't know. If it comes down to Mad needing to win, it's a bit iffy, because RNG and Damwon are tough teams to beat. So who knows? But Mad has a certain element of you know, craziness to them, and I think Kaiser and Humanoid are good players, very good players. Internet user 4956, is it worth investing time to reach the LEC? Probably not. This is the harsh truth. Probably not. XOG, how to get in the pro scene? Just be good and get noticed. The right people need to notice you. Make content. Get higher ranked on the ladder. Shit on some pro players. Just get good and people will notice you. Every organization wants to find the next best player. Every organization. If that's you, you will be found. So just get good. Zach and Co. Hi Yamato, do you think the meta between spring and summer split current meta changed that much? If it did, do you think it changed in a good way that suits you and the boys? And which meta do you prefer personally? I don't have any preference for a meta. I just kind of, you know, meta stands for most effective tactic available. Correct me if I'm wrong. And with that in mind, you know, I just want to win. Like if we need to have 5 supports on the team to win, then we're gonna fucking pick 5 supports in order to win. I don't care too much or have any, you know, I'm not married to any meta or prefer something else more than others. Like the meta that I probably understand the best is, you know, a very, very heavily early game centered meta. I think in terms of how you play defensively is something that I didn't put too much effort into career-wise, but I definitely have put a larger stock into it after, you know, studying Fnatic of 2018 when they were all the way back into the finals, because there was an element that made them very, very tough to beat, and that is because when you were ahead against them, they intentionally made it as difficult as possible to beat them, while often in Vitality at the time, when we were behind, due to the nature of our compositions, we tended to, you know, die hard and die fast. God's Hell 22. Hi Amaro. First of all, I hope you're doing great. How do you coach someone in a shot calling role? I am a jungle main and would love to start being the shot caller for me and my friends. Are there any tips you can give me to get a head start? The key thing is to understand the function of shot calling, right? You are saying a phrase with a determined, feature to it, right? You're trying to communicate a very, very set point of the game. How do your teammates react? Because your shot calling needs to adjust to how your teammates reply to it. Shot calling is something that you can review yourself. When you look at your comms, did what you say have the effect that you wanted it to have? That is the key thing. Shot calling takes practice, not only because, the innate nature of it, like you need to understand how the game works, but also you need to understand how your teammates work, because language is something that is very dynamic, and the language that you're going to develop in your specific team is going to differ from how your language is going to be in a different team. So with that in mind, just review your shot calling, see if it has the effect that you want it to have. Also, as a side note, try to make sure that you use similar time frames throughout the game. You're jungling. Let's say, okay, I'm clearing these 3 camps. I'm going to be ready in 1 minute. I want you to be ready to contest the 52 wave that is coming, the 1152 wave, right? That could be an example of a timer and, a time frame that your teammates can work with. Aligning around these time frames is very important, because the bottom line is something that is misunderstood often is people think that pressure is constant in League of Legends, but it isn't. It ebbs and flows, and it's important that you choose your moments together, because often there is 3, 4, 5 major decisions that are going to win you the game. Sometimes even just one decision can win you the game. So it's important, those decisions, that you're all behind them the same way. I hope that helps. Polybus99, what is the most important thing to get started as an analyst or coach? How did you get started? I got started as a pro player, and my nature as a player was very, like team captain right? So with that being said, that helps. If you've been a pro player, that helps. How to get started as an analyst or coach, just put yourself out there. Start working, get busy. Just fucking get busy, make content, help people, help players improve, and move up the ladder. There's no clean way of doing it, but it's the same thing. Just impress the right people and you're going to move up. It's not easy. It's cruel, brutal, and it's going to be unrewarding for the majority of many years, because a lot of people are in that same position. They want to, also become coaches and analysts. But unless you solve the problems of League of Legends and you don't bring any nuance or anything new to the table, you're not going to find work. First, you need to identify problems. Then you need to solve the problems. That's how you get into any walk of life, right? Mr. Face Down asks, hi Amaro, what's your opinion on role swap? Each role seems to have its specific skills. How can a player swapping still perform at the best level? How long would it take for him to swap role and be efficient in it? I guess Perks ADC, Caps ADC, Gen X top are examples, but do you believe role swap can improve a player's quality? Yeah, I think, I was also a player that role swapped. I went from top lane to mid to top lane to AD carry to also jungling for a bit when my internet was terrible. So I've been doing my fair share of role swapping. I think in terms of achieving success and being efficient in it, I think it differs from player to player. I think solo laners will have a much easier time adjusting to the other roles than the other roles, Like a support switching to mid, that sounds very unlikely. A AD carry switching to middle, top, or jungle also sounds a little bit unlikely. The qualities of AD, support, and jungle are not so global in terms of what League of Legends is. Jungle is very unique in the sense that you are clearing jungle. There's pathing, you need to understand lane states, which is something that is transferable, and so forth. Support, you need to understand how to impact the map, which is also somewhat transferable, right? There are some small things here that are transferable, not small things, but you get me, right? When it comes to top and mid, you have to play a larger variety of champions. Sometimes there's tanks in the mid lane, sometimes there are AD carries in the mid lane, sometimes there are even supers in the mid lane. Like there was a point in time where people were playing Rakan and Soraka, and there was, even a funnel meta. There's been, a lot of moments in time where top and mid have had to play a larger variety of champions, and you are also the roles that interact heaviest with all of the other roles. If you're playing mid, you have to think about support, you have to think about jungle, you have to think about enemy mid, you have to think about so many aspects of the game that are going to be useful to you throughout. Of course, if I'm playing support and I have great knowledge of mid, great knowledge of top, that is fantastic. I'm not saying there's a negative aspect to having more knowledge. The more knowledge you have about other lanes, the better you are off, because you'll understand how to impact them. But I think, generally speaking, top and mid, for them to be effective, need to know and use a lot more of the information in the game. So I think it's easier for them to role swap. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you so much for your questions. I just realized now that my hair is absolutely mad. Anyhow, all the best to all of you. If you sneezed during this video, bless you and bless your face. All the best. Take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. All the best. If you made it this far, then congratulations. It's only you and me now. Just having a conversation. I'm listening to you. That sounds fantastic. I'm happy for you, and I am proud. All the best.